Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Car Dealer Chat podcast. Today with James Harding of CG Cars, or Chops Garage as he's better known on YouTube, and myself, Joe Betty of Borough Motors and Shifting Metal YouTube channel. We would normally have Dave of the Lovely Car Company here, but he's away doing something. We're not quite sure. Did you get a gist of what it was, James?
I
Some
think it
kind of
was
medical
something.
emergency?
No, I think it was an enforced trip somewhere by local authorities.
Ah,
That's all. That's all I can say about it.
He says he's gone camping, but we think he might be having a little stay at His Majesty's courtesy. We don't know. Who knows?
Yeah.
That's just allegedly, don't read too much into that. So yeah, today we haven't really got a topic, but because it's just the two of us, we thought we'd just have a bit of a chat, see what's been going on, what's been happening with you the last week since we were on, James.
Trying to catch up with taking so much time off on holiday. I did 2 holidays back to back, which wasn't intended, and then I came back. And anybody who's seen my video knows I had to respray a Firebird for a prom. So I've done nothing pretty much retail wise for probably a month. So I've got to catch up. But obviously, as you do, I've carried on buying during that time. So I've got quite a backlog of stock, and because I like to do a lot of stuff myself, I've given myself quite a work list of wheels to refurb and corners to paint and all sorts of things. So yeah, I've been and picked up subscriber car this week as well. Done that. Got one going out to a subscriber. So we picked up, might even be picked up during this video call. You never know. Delivery driver keeps delaying
Oh,
when he's
not by
picking it up, so
you.
I'm not sure. Sorry, no, not by me. No,
Have you
no, I
uh,
won't
have
do
you
that.
had any CV sent in since we put your email address on the podcast?
No,
Oh,
no, not I've seen unless I've gone into spam. I haven't checked spam recently. But the thing is how many people are in North Devon
well, you
that
are in
watch
the
these
arsehole of nowhere,
podcasts?
aren't you? I suppose,
Exactly. Yeah.
but
Exactly.
people would be willing to commute at least an hour, I think. I mean,
I don't know. I think I'd probably only have a part-time role anyway, so it'd work better for someone local. Maybe somebody who's got school duties and wants to come in the gap in between, sort of 10 till 3 kind of thing. I guess might work quite well,
well, there we are. Now we've
but
got
we'll
more
see.
strict, and you're in South Molton, basically.
That South Molton, yeah,
Yeah,
near.
Molton, massive. So we'll put James's email address on the thing. Come on, this is your opportunity to get in with the man himself and get a role there. Become
Yeah,
YouTube famous potentially.
yeah. Be prepared to be on camera, of course.
Yeah. So have you sold any in the last week or so?
Yeah, done a few. What have I done? I've done a Crosslander that was worried. Again, I get a bit nervous when I do more expensive stuff. 2018, 38,000 miles. Always the same way, isn't it? You think you need to drop the price, and then the phone goes mad, and you go, "Why did I drop the price?" And it
Yeah.
literally was just about £200 or £300, and people still wouldn't negotiate on it. But I was probably a bit too generous discounting because I wanted to see it go on, even though I haven't had it very long. Just made me nervous because it was eight. I think all traders said 8795. I think I did 8595,
Yeah.
and then still allowed a couple £100 off, which I probably shouldn't have done, and then still agreed to send it for paint. So and
It's
it's got to get a
tricky
new
when
MT.
when you're in that transition. If you go into more expensive stuff, if you don't normally do it, you do start thinking, I'm not getting all the kind of constant calls and inquiries that you get on the cheaper stuff. So therefore, no one wants it. But you got to kind of get your head around the fact that you might sit there for 2 months with no interest whatsoever, and then someone will just turn up and they'll pay full asking. And it is a weird
It's funny
change.
because I came back off holiday and checked prices, and I said to you, didn't I think on the last video when I came back off holiday, prices had gone down a bit. So I went down and changed some of my pricing down, and for some reason it just did immediately. Like even though it's a couple £100, immediately start to get phone calls in. Like got some
Hmm.
phone calls on my EV Kia, which I think to be honest I'd be sitting on forever and a day. Phone calls on my Doblo, which I wasn't really getting any calls on at all. So yeah, it seems to mind you, I'm hearing a lot of people are quiet. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm busy, but I'm doing a few. But I've heard a lot of people are quiet. A few people
Yeah,
have
we're
mentioned they're
quiet.
quiet.
We're very well. I mean, I say we're quiet. We've done about 9 or 10 this month so far. And we're on basically the end of the month, so that's quiet for us. Um,
Yeah,
but
yeah. What would I say? I've done maybe 5 or 6, maybe.
mm,
I did write up a trade list of stuff because I did kind of think, well, as I've been on holiday and I've got so much stock that I should just do a trade list stuff. Uh, and I sent it out to a guy I normally deal with, and I could send it to you as well. I guess I don't know if there's anything particularly of interest to you on there. I thought maybe maybe just take some £500 here and there and just clear the lot a little bit and
just
put some money
freshen
in
it
the
up a
bank. But
little
then my
bit.
other side of me said, fresh. But then the other side of me says, well, because I've been away and I need to do better to make up for the time off, I should probably retail them all and get the full retail out of them. Um, and it's like a piggy bank
Depends if you've
sometimes when you
got,
get the right cars.
yeah, so it depends if you've got a supply of other stuff to come in. If you know you can, the ones that need more prep and whatever, if you can trade them out and then get in some that are closer to retail ready, that might, speed up the process to a degree.
Yeah, it's a good point. You just want to with paint. That said, I just agreed to buy a Skoda Yeti that needs quite a bit of work. Needs a front wing and a paint to the
As long as you're
bumper
not
and all
doing
that kind
it,
of
are
stuff.
you going to send it to someone or are you going to do it?
I probably will. I am time to do that one. I've got a load of bumper corners to do, which I'll do myself. But the more substantial stuff, I'll send out to the body shop.
Can't
Yeah,
believe you're still doing like spraying jobs and things like that.
yeah, I quite like it though, don't I? I mean, at the end of the day, you've got to
Yeah, well,
remember
that's
the
it. I
reason
mean,
I
if
got
that's,
into this.
go on, sorry. If that's what you like doing, then all fair and well.
Well, the reason I got into this, like I say, was it was because I was doing this all at weekends when I had a proper job, and I was when I was at the proper job, all I was thinking about was getting back and getting hands on and getting tightening up a car. I like the process of tightening a car up,
Yeah.
taking something that's a bit tired for itself and making it look really good. And to be honest, I'm still not doing as much of that as I'd like to. Um, but I mean, it can be very frustrating. Pain can be very frustrating because it only takes like when I did my Firebird recently. Sorry, I did some wheels on a I did some wheels on a Sportage the other day. It only takes you to use the wrong cloth, realize you're using the wrong cloth, and you get everything to react, and you've got to wait 24 hours before you can do anything about it. So you can end up doing it 2 or 3 times sometimes. It can be a right pain in the ass, but you get better and better at it. But yeah, I quite enjoy that process. Although it does stress me out when I come in and think I've got a set of wheels to do on a Hyundai i20. I've got a corner bumper to do on a Nissan Note. I've got corner bumper and a front bumper to do on a Ford C-Max. I've got a set of wheels to do on a Mercedes. Yeah, I have got a list as long as your arm stuff I should be getting on with, and it's all just sitting there when it could be photographed and up for retail. I mean, I don't know how quickly you go from getting a car in to having it up for retail.
Like that. I
Literally,
mean,
yeah.
I'm trying to, as we make a few changes, I would like to get to a point where we're like prepping in advance, but that would take a bit of catch up. But currently, say a car comes in, we will, I mean, at the instant I say I buy a car at auction, I will use the auction pictures and get it listed for sale, saying arriving soon, like generate some
Right.
leads ASAP.
Well, I'll put that on Auto Trader.
Yeah. And
Oh,
then,
okay.
um, and then when it arrives, then we can kind of check it out, figure out what it needs prep wise, and we'll clean it, take pictures of it. Even if we know that it needs a turbo or something or whatever it is, it can still be up because it might take a week for someone looking at something to actually get round to calling. Sometimes it works well. Sometimes I mean, sometimes we've sold cars before they've arrived, you know, like with us.
Yeah, see, what stresses me really out is like at the moment is when I sell cars that aren't 100% ready. It does my
Mm,
nutting because I feel like I'm doing double or triple the work, if that kind of makes sense, because I've sold it. So now I've got to drop it like this, yes, like this Crosslander. I've sold it. They've come and done the viewing, they sold it. But it's now not over and done with now, is it? Because now it's got to go to the paint guy. So I've got to update them when it's come back from the paint guy. Then it's got down for
yeah.
MOT. I've got to update them MOT. Then they've got to come back again and get it. And I'll have to clean it
And
again
and you
because it'll
get a
got dirty in the
week of
process.
phone calls like, oh, just I know we discussed it was coming
Yeah.
on Saturday and it's only Monday, but how's it going? It's like,
Oh,
well,
it's always the same. There's no hurry with it. There's no hurry with it. 24 hours later, how are you getting on with it?
yeah. Do you know
You realize you.
someone? I had like a psychologist comment on because I did a video where I said about that, and I said that the people who say that there's no rush are always the ones that really rush. And this
Yeah,
psychologist said that that's probably I can't remember what they called it, but some kind of self-defense mechanism, basically, so that they know that that type of person that is pushy and impatient. So to make themselves feel better about going into it, they say they're not going to be
they
pushy and
preempt they're not that kind of
they're
person.
preempting the fact that they're going to do it, but they're almost like lying to themselves and kind of reassuring themselves that trying to convince themselves they're not going to be pushy about it, but then they still can't help themselves. Oh,
Thing
that's
I
quite
always do
interesting. I thought
now.
that probably makes sense.
I always think I always just now go right. I try and talk them through it. I'll go right. Okay, so tomorrow I'll ring up and try and get an MOT. Likelihood is I won't be able to get an MOT tomorrow, so it'll be the following day. They'll MOT it and then they'll find that it needs something. The wrong part will come. and then the right part will come, but then they'll have moved on to something else, so they'll have to wait a day before they get onto ours. So we're now at 6 days to get that MOT done, because a lot of people think it's MOT, it's back, and it's not, is it? It doesn't work that way, especially if you haven't got your MOT station. I mean, let's face it, 9 times out of 10, the wrong part comes, doesn't it?
Oh
So it has
yeah,
to go back, and another part has to come in. By which time you don't have you don't have your mechanics sitting there waiting, do you? Going, right, well, just have coffees until that part comes in, and then as soon as it comes, fit it on. Now you go, right, now get onto that, and they
yeah,
can't stop partway through that when the part turns up, so you have to wait till the following day to get started.
yeah. It is a
So
bit of a
I try the old under promise over deliver. So then when I ring them and go, actually it's been ready in 3 days time, they're like, oh wow, okay. But then people go, oh really, will it take that long? Is it going to have that many problems with it? And it's like, no, it's not, it's got problems with it. I'm trying
Just
to
that
sort of
standard.
preempt.
Yeah.
It's preempt. That's how the process of prepping a car normally goes. But yeah,
I mean, if go on.
I do like the idea of having all my cars 100% ready, but I don't think I've ever got to that point before. And this is an interesting one, isn't it? Because half the comments you get in the comments is in the comments is people going to other dealerships and they'll go to me like, "Oh, James, your cars are so well prepped, blah blah blah," because I do try and normally get them 100% ready. Then they go to a bigger dealership and they'll go, "I went to this other dealership and it's terrible. The cars weren't even, they didn't, they had
Yeah.
scratches on the bumpers." And you try and explain to them, well, they're not going to put money into that until they know someone's bought it.
Well, they
Um,
can't just
and then
dedicate the workshop
they'll
time,
prep
can they? It's a logistics thing more than anything else.
also, if you're on a stocking loan, what you don't want to prep a car you're going to stick back through auction again in 90 days' time, do you?
Yeah,
So
exactly. But also the other thing, the way I always look at it is if we know that the wheels need doing, in an ideal world, if you want your car to be perfect, you do the wheels, you do a little bumper corner because it's got a little scuff on it or whatever, and all these little bits and pieces.
morning, Pete.
As much as I would like to do them in advance, it'd be great. But on the other hand, like you can use that as a bit of a bargaining tool because someone might come along and be like, they're not that bothered about it.
Blind Pete's in.
Hi Pete, how we doing?
Pete comes
Net
down to me
famous
every
now,
now and then
Pete.
with stuff. It's like a care of the community thing I do.
Oh God.
Oh,
So
bless your
like
heart.
they're like, oh, there's this guy, he hangs
Well, he
around, he's
comes in
got
and
these
looks after
tools.
you. He comes in and wipes your bum when you need it.
Local council came to me and said, this guy's got his tools. He keeps wandering around a place murmuring about being a mechanic. Can you help us out? And I invent these little jobs for him that he can come along and do. Yeah.
Bless.
You're going to put a kettle on first, eh, Pete? Ideal. Ah, sorry, you're right. Yes.
That's all right.
He's going to help me spend more money on a car that we're talking about prep that I've already lost money on that just keeps breaking things every time we do it. And believe it or not, all the comments you get, it's a Toyota. Toyota's 100% reliable, aren't they? Bollocks. They can all cost as
Yeah,
much. Same. It's
everything
I don't know.
suffers, doesn't it?
I don't know if you ever
I'm
saw
just gonna
that video
stop
on
my
the
dogs
Toyota.
fighting a minute. They're like fighting to the death in here.
Can we get the dogs on camera?
Yeah, we can do. Come on then.
I like a bit of dogs. Hold on, I'm gonna get my keys for Pete. Right, you don't want to work in the you don't want to work in the wet, do you, Pete?
Not usually.
No. Should we get you out? Should we get you some nice dry spot? You can take the Fiat 500 out, and then you can move that IGO in to the
There they
spot.
are.
Pair of doggies there, look.
Oh, look at that! I like that. My favourite one's the brown one. What type of dog's that? I like the fluffy dogs so much.
He's come from North Macedonia.
All right. 2 secs. I'll just sort Pete out a second.
You carry on.
Carry on.
You want the keys to open up the other unit, mate?
All right.
Here we go.
Really?
You're wearing your adult diapers today, aren't you? Because the seats are really clean in that one. Are they still fighting, are they?
Yeah, the new puppy who's called Tugboat.
Yeah. Oh
is
yeah, I
the-
remember that. Yeah.
is the antagonist here. He treats my dog Bash, the brown one that you just saw, who is
Yeah.
I'll put him back on camera. The
Oh, bless him.
the rescue from North Macedonia.
Yeah.
And the puppy treats him like his own little play toy because he's really patient with him, and it will just literally just clamp onto his collar and just walk him around like a toy. Anyway, back to cars and dealer chat.
Oh yes.
What's been your peak and trough this week? Like, what's been good? What's been bad?
What's been good? I got a Hyundai i10 in stock. Always like having a Hyundai i10
That's
in
bad,
stock.
is it?
Sorry.
That's the
Well, that's
bad
the
one.
peak.
That's
That's
the
the peak,
trough.
isn't it? That's the banker, a Hyundai i10. Oh, mind you, the margins aren't big on it. I have to be. The margins aren't great on it. But you don't tend to see them back as a general. And I always like to have one in stock, and they sell super quick, don't they?
Yeah, yeah.
So
The clutches,
that's
the
a
only
pretty
thing.
good
Not
peak.
there's anything wrong with the clutches, but the clientele tend to
Yes.
go through clutches and have issues, don't they?
Well, I think they've got a very different feel to them being mechanical clutch on
Mm.
a cable, haven't they? That's the thing. And if they get a little bit rusty in the sheath when you put your foot up and down, they 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 can
They
be a
can be a
little
bit
bit
harsh
grabby.
to come on. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
it.
and it's the clutch itself is fine. It's just that
Yeah,
cable sometimes. So that can be the case. And another Skoda Yeti selling super quick, I guess. 4x4, 2013. It's still like an 8 grand car or whatever, and they
yeah.
just fly out the door. So like I said, I just bought another one as well. Um, so yeah, that wasn't bad.
Yetis
But
are good, especially if you can get the four-wheel drive and DSG. That's like the holy grail of a
this
Yeti.
was it. It was a
That what it
DSG
was.
4-wheel drive with 50,000 miles on 2013. So in black. And you know what the lady wrote off? She wrote off a Skoda Yeti DSG 4-wheel drive in black. She wrote it off. So that's why she's very keen to get her hands on the car again quickly so that she can
Yeah,
get on the road again. But I had to tell her as well, same myself, she was like, the insurance company had made an offer and it's X amount. I said, "Oh, was that the first offer?" She said, "Yes." So, no, never accept the first offer. Go back and hit them up and show them online, show them on Auto Trader what it costs to get the same car.
yeah,
And she ended up getting a bit more cash out of them. But yeah, a lot of people think they need to accept the first offer, don't they? Which is you
yeah.
don't
I
at
guess
all.
people just assume that's what you're going to get. They set the rules, but yeah, interesting.
Yeah, they
I've
chance their arm
never,
bet,
I've
don't
never
they?
made an insurance claim, so I don't really know. I've never done it, but yeah. If they tried to offer me a lot less than what the market value was, then yes, you can't. It takes the mick, really, doesn't it?
So what's your best sale and best and worst sale, I guess, or worst buy?
Um, I don't know. We haven't bought or sold much, to be honest. I'm finding that buying stuff is tricky at the minute. To be fair, I did speak to someone at BCA the other day, and they were saying that I think it was my BCA like account manager. She phoned me up. They've got low stock volumes at the moment. And
I
I'm
guess
just
that
not.
makes sense because people were talking about being quiet a month or so ago.
Oh
If they
yeah,
haven't, if they sat on their stock during last month and things were a bit quiet for some people this month, which it tends to be going into holidays and that, doesn't it? Then I guess there's not a lot in the way of part exchanges coming through. It's going to be all just mobility, isn't it? Really?
yeah. Normally, I would go through like a few different sites for BCA every day, and there'd be at least 20 I'm quite interested in.
Mm.
Um, that I think are somewhat interesting and would suit us. Just not really finding them, or the prices just seem off. I don't know if there's a bit of a price, and it's just they don't seem value. So yeah,
But
so
that
that's
would be
been
interesting, wouldn't it? Because if everybody then does have a good month this month and needs stock, and there's a shortage, there's a
those
bottleneck,
prices are
then
going to go through the roof. Yeah.
everything we've got on our forecourt should go up a little bit again, though, isn't it? That's the
Well,
advantage in that scenario.
yeah, yeah, you'd hope so. Um, and I think we bought another nice Jaguar F Pace from a subscriber, Quillen. We bought a few cars from before. He's another trader. Um, but yeah, he's a nice lad. He came down from wherever, Norfolk or something. No, it's
Right.
not Oxfordshire or something, I think. So that was a nice car. Bad
Have you done
stuff.
what engine did you have in that one then?
It's another 2 litre Ingenium.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like my wet belt experience the other day when we actually took a car apart, had done 60,000 miles. I looked at the belt and it looked absolutely perfect.
Yeah,
Do you
I
know what
mean
I
this
mean?
thing's on
It's
like 40,000 or 50,000 miles or something. Good
yeah.
service history, and yeah, it's been well looked after, obviously, and
I think at the end of the day, you just would buy nothing, would you? There's nothing in
someone's
buying. I mean,
someone's
people,
got to sell them, so I happily take the risk, and
well, exactly. If the margins are what big enough in it, and then you'll probably come out of it laughing, wouldn't you?
fingers crossed. Yeah, touch
You
wood.
made some massive margins on some of those Range Rovers, didn't you?
Yeah, but then I have got a couple sitting around that need. We got one that's sitting waiting to go. We're hoping is a simple, well, not a simple job, but not a body off job on another Range Rover that we bought. So there are a few things like that slow it up, but I still think with the big margins, it pays off. So
Yeah.
and sort of trough this week or the last week. Don't know really. We talked about obviously that first response thing last
Oh
week.
yeah, what's happened so far with that then? Have you moved
Well,
to
nothing.
legal?
This is the thing, nothing. I said to them, can you send me over all this stuff and tell me what's where this independent report is that you say you've got, and can you give me the details and just put it in an email to me, all the details, how much it went to auction for. Although they told me that on the phone, put it in an email and I'll do that. Well, it's a week now, over a week, and they still haven't sent anything. I just feel like, what a shit show of a company.
Terrible. Yeah, unfortunately with companies like that, sometimes they only take it seriously when you do go down the legal route, don't they? Unfortunately, that's just why they are. Until you get a letter before action, they're kind of like they don't give a
Well,
monkeys.
what worries me is that seeing as they just went after the last email I had with them, they just went ahead and just did everything, and then they're gonna. Well, they haven't even given me a bill. That's the funny thing. They just phoned up and say, "What are we gonna do about this balance?" That they will just because I said, "Well, look, I'm gonna have to go to court with you, I guess." And she said, "Oh, you're gonna go the legal route, are you?" The next thing I know is I'll get a county court judgment against me because they'll put a claim in for the money.
First, yeah, you've got to
But
get
I
in
can't
first, yeah.
understand how they can do that without having given me an invoice at least.
Well,
So
they can put the
yeah,
county court judge. Yeah, they can put the. I mean, at the end of the day, you would get a letter before. They have to send you a letter before action, and then you get the court papers as well. So if you went to court and you're in front of a judge and you said they haven't provided me with any stuff, any judge worth his salt should be turning around and saying, "Guys, you need to come back when you've actually provided this person with the information."
yeah, you'd hope. Yeah, maybe the next step is that I'm going to get a letter from them saying you told us you wanted to go to court, so here's a thing we will tell. I don't know, but yeah, it's just that's what I could do without. I don't, if they want to bloody have that sort of money out of me, they could just at least give me the paperwork and tell me what it is or whatever, and not expect me to chase them to find out
Absolutely.
about it.
Sorry, nothing's working today. I'm having to repower everything up. Yeah, no, exactly, mate. They at least provide you with the basic paperwork. I mean, this report, is it just from his friend again on a piece of
Well, I
paper?
don't
How do
because
we?
they haven't sent it to me, so I don't know. Unless if they're talking about the previous report, should I see if I can bring it up on the thing here and show you what it was? This is literally just laughable.
I'm behind. I know someone left. I'm behind and watching the videos. Was that the lad that's been picking up cars from me?
Yeah, Macaulay. Yeah,
Yeah, he was a nice lad. He was.
he was a nice lad. Yeah,
He seemed to be a grafter as well, from what I saw. Anyway,
he
in the videos
was.
and
But I
that.
think fair enough to him.
What's he off to do?
I don't think he really knows at the moment. He's just taking a bit of time. I think he's got a bit of stress going on at home, so he's taking a bit of time and he's going to look for something else. But I think he wants something with a bit more career progression, which is fair enough.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. Do you lose V5s all the time? Or
My
you
missus does
Yeah,
when it comes to the ones.
at the farm.
Yeah,
I put them all in the same folder and they still seem to go walkabouts. I think it's sometimes I take them out for people when they view a car and forget to put it back again.
is
Oh
that
my God.
is that how you can see it now? Can you? I can't
Yeah,
tell.
yeah.
My screen's gone funny, but yeah, this is the independent report. Supposedly, at least they've circled inspection. Ford C-Max bell housing damage caused by this car. Well, again, as we discussed, he had the clutch done by someone. Whether it is, I assume it was this guy because this guy sent all the invoices before, so he's probably done the clutch, cut the bolts off the thing, and then gone, oh yeah, there's damage on here. Look, not wanting to tell this crazy customer that it was him.
But at the end of the day, like I've said before, it doesn't make the vehicle unfit for purpose, and it doesn't affect its doesn't affect its performance in any way, does it?
Near side front lower ball joint gaiter split. Near side front lower suspension arm bush worn. Near side front disc slightly warped. Well, either way, at what point this was, that's 5 months after he bought it.
Well, there you go. I've had a boot break on run those rubber boots break within a month. One of those Chinese cheapy ones. They can break in any time.
Yeah, it's
And was the bush when the vehicle went out, the bush might have had not enough play, not a significant amount of play in it. That's a see the suspension bush worn is personal opinion, you go to 2 different MOT stations, and they'll tell you 2 different things, won't they? Near
Yeah.
side front disc slightly warped. How do we know we didn't slam the brakes on at some point? It's once the car goes out of our yard, we're not to know what goes on with it, are we?
No, I can't figure out how to stop sharing this bloody thing now.
Well, I'll give you a minute because I think Pete needs to push.
No worries.
Sorry, I was just shoving a Toyota Aygo around the car park until Pete could get bump started.
Oh, okay. At least it's a
Hence
small
me being a bit
car.
out of breath and you're hearing something really raughty in the background. They changed the exhaust manifold gasket. They changed the exhaust center and they changed the exhaust back box. All the way through that process, they said that was what was making the noise, and it still makes exactly the same noise.
Happens, doesn't it? They don't really know the best guess.
It is best guess. A lot of mechanics don't like to admit
Sometimes it pans out, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
We've had a few like that.
Luckily, I get parts are cheap, aren't they?
Yeah, but not that cheap when you add them all up. That's why I don't know. The exhaust is probably like 50 quid, isn't it?
Oh, well, I got like a front subframe for 50 quid.
Yeah.
But then we had to do the drop links. Then we had to do the discs and pads. Then we had to put a rear beam on the back of it, discs and pads. Then exhaust. Then the alternator played up. And now I reckon the starter motor's played up. So whoever gets that car, they're going to have they've got a rebuilt car and I'm losing money on it. So they're laughing.
Yeah. Any big news this week then? Anything new?
Any big news? No, I wouldn't say so. Like I say, I've just really been
Trying to crack back on again.
Really catch up, yeah.
You haven't negotiated a deal for the yard at the back or anything yet, then?
No.
No.
I haven't got through the stock I've got, have I? That's the thing.
And I was thinking about that after you showed us and everything. I was just thinking about what I'd do, and I'd have that back for everything like prep, and then all your sell stuff out the front. But then, like you say, you don't really want to be doing, like 50, 60 cars, do you necessarily? So
I did think about it afterwards. I did think. I mean, to be honest, I don't ever turn down cars, so it's not like I'm turning down stock because I've got too much of it. I never turn stock down. So, I mean, if it got to a point where I was building up that much stock, yeah, I'd probably do it. But I'm sharing the stock from the main dealer now with the chap that left. Don't remember that story. So I got all the stock from the local main dealer, but then the manager left and set up his own car business.
Right.
And they said, "Oh, we'll still sell you cars." So, which seems strange to me. It was like setting somebody up in business, isn't it? I mean, imagine going straight into the car trade and immediately walking into main dealer stock, guaranteed main dealer stock.
Yeah, you've jumped a big hurdle there, haven't you?
Massive hurdle, yeah. So, so he's. I mean, but we're good friends, so it's all good. But so I've got that stuff coming in. I've got the subscriber stuff coming. Now, I don't really ever do auctions. I don't really do auctions at all anymore because I don't really have to go looking for stock. I mean, luckily every day, and thanks to the subscribers for this, I get emails coming in from my website. And also my site seems to have been indexed quite well, Google recently. So a lot of the cars I've bought haven't been via subscribe. I assume every form that comes through my site is a subscriber, but a lot of it's actually just people searching for where they can sell their car in North Devon.
Okay, yeah.
And that seems to have happened a lot after I did a small campaign with Google where I used the words "we buy any car," blah, blah, blah,
Oh, my car.
just within the local area. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that, to be fair, my sort of cars bought for more, I was doing that before I was doing YouTube. And I used to pay, in fact, what worked best for me was doing Facebook and Instagram ads. I would do like a thingy saying we buy cars or whatever and do them that way. And that used to get quite a good return, especially at the start. I mean, it was during lockdown. But yeah, that would be eclipsed now by subscribers, like you say, thanks to all the subscribers. I mean, we've got more than I can handle at the minute. I'm really trying to struggle to think of what we can do with our kind of car buying website because it's tricky when a lot of them are up country. And
that's the challenge I find is that I can normally better their local offer, but when you then fact out you need to pick it up again, right, it's gonna be 500 quid to go and pick it up. Now I can't better the offer. And you're set, oh yeah, but the place around the corner offered me X, but you're about to drive it to them around the corner.
yeah,
if you drive
and then
it to
the ones
me,
that do accept, you're putting your faith in whoever goes to check it out. Like we've had ones where our driver lads have gone to look at them and they got it back, and I would have walked away from that because it's got a tappy engine, or you can hear that the DPF has been gutted, and it's just not good for retail stuff, you know.
Well, it's other things as well. Like people, with, I'm not people with the best intentions do it for someone in their family who tells them it's got a full service history, and you turn up and it's like got half service history, and it's like, I really don't want to chip you because you obviously you've made we've already kind of agreed a price, but this makes quite a substantial difference to the value of the vehicle, and they haven't told you that they're a massive
It's this
smoker.
what
As an
I
example,
try and the way I think about it is when someone says a car is a certain way, and you're like, "Yep, well, as long as you say it is as you say it is, we won't chip you." And then you get there, and like you say, the service history isn't what they said, or there's damage on it that they hadn't mentioned, or whatever. I'm disappointed, not in the car, in that I have to lower my offer to you now. I wish I didn't have
yes,
to lower my offer to you because I want to be as fair as possible. And I feel like then rather than being like, that's the price, I'll come and get it from you. Now, if I get there and I have to negotiate with you, I'm being lumped in with a category of every other dealer that's going to try and
yeah,
chip you
yeah,
down. And that's not what it's
exactly.
about. It's
Exactly
just,
that. I'm 100% the same. They expect us to just be a ruthless cold dealers going, right, I'm going to go there and I'm going to chip them down and get the price down. I feel really bad for having to chip a price down. I really don't want to. I want to be the easiest person
exactly.
to do business. I want to give a price. I want to turn up. And within sort of 20 minutes, unless they want to chat, I've loaded up, I've paid them, I've gone hassle free. But the reality is, they know when they go to buy a car, if they ask, has it got a full service history, and it hasn't got one, they're either going to be put off buying the car or they're going to want you to do a load of servicing work on it. They know if they go to look at a car and the wheels are all curved up, they're going to want them doing. They know that if they go to look at a car and the bumper's down. So if you haven't told us those things and we turn up, then what choice have we got?
Yeah.
You're telling us it's immaculate, it's perfect, um, but it isn't. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think one of the worst things I did this week, actually, I didn't say, was to take a car off a friend's son. So Adrian does my driving, and I'm not blaming anyone here other than myself. His son was back and forth negotiating a deal with me on a car, and he didn't do it with me. And then went to buy a car elsewhere and said, "Would you still buy my car off me?" And I said, "Well, if I'm not selling you a car, I can't give you the price I was offering you because I'd given some of the margin in the car." And he was quite tough negotiating on it. In the end, I gave him this price, and I knew the car was a bit dirty, but when it turned up, I'd heard it run. Um, I didn't drive it; I should have driven it, but I started from cold the other day, and it doesn't sound good. It doesn't
Exactly.
sound good at all. I mean, it's really. I mean, I felt bad for chipping him down on the price I gave him in the first place, but this thing is, yeah, it's not good at all. It's not
Well,
good at
that's
all.
that's the thing as well. That if people you turn up and you chip people down, they're like, "Oh yeah, but we got a better offer on motorway or whatever." It's like you say, if you turn up and that car's like that was my one concern about this F-Pace, the Ingenium thing coming down.
Yeah,
We know the guy anyway, so we're like, send us a video of it cold, and we'll kind of take his word that it is cold. But people, if you have a car delivered to you and it turns up warm and it sounds great and fires up every time. In fact, I did it in a video the other day on a little Mercedes SLK. I was like, listen to this when I get in because it sounds like a bag of spanners. But as soon as I turn it off again and start it again, and that oil is being pumped around, it
yeah,
sounds mint. So, and what difference does that make to a car? Say you buy a little SLK for 3 grand, you're hoping to sell it for 4.5, 5. And then once you've got it, you've turned up and it's warm. Oh, yeah, I've driven it home from work or whatever. You get it back. The next morning you start out and it's like, well,
yeah,
right, there goes £1,000.
yeah.
And
Timing chain.
I
Yeah,
would never have bought this car, and
yeah.
they know that. No one doesn't know that their car makes that awful
I
sound.
think there's a small minority that don't know. I think there's some people that drive. I mean, I'll give you an example. My wife's friend, car went in for MOT and they passed and they said next year won't pass because the underside of it's too rough. And I had a look at it. Me and Pete had a look at it and said no, it just needs wire brushing down and painting. So I said we'll book it in and we'll do it for you. I don't do that kind of work normally. So we got it in. So no, I went to go and pick it up from her, and I got literally 200 yards up the road. I stopped and I called her and I said, "Do you want us to go ahead with this work? Because your car is terrible." She said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Your clutch is bad." I said, "Your suspension is bad." I said, "You've got a wheel bearing out for sure." I noticed all this straight away, and she went, "Oh, really?" She said, I said, "Are you sure we wanted to go ahead with the work? Because you drove it to us, and we drove it onto our ramp, looked at the underside, and said it needed doing. We didn't drive it at that point, so we then booked in later on for it to come in, and then I drove it and noticed all the stuff." She said, "Well, no, yeah, I still want to go ahead." She's just been in for its next MOT, and they haven't let her drive the car home because I told her at the time you need to get this wheel bearing done badly for starters,
Yeah.
but they said it was that bad they wouldn't even let her drive it home, and she's just gone and bought a new car. And she wasn't aware of any of these things.
No,
of these
there is
things
definitely an
tickle.
element of some people who are like that, just
Just
completely
completely
oblivious.
mechanical. But no, I mean, some people know their engine sounds like a bag of spanners when it starts from cold, don't they? Let's be
Yeah,
honest about it.
I
They
mean, a
might
lot of
not know
people
what
would, wouldn't
that's.
they? Even if they don't know what it means, that's
Yeah, they
probably
might not
the
know the
guide's gone on the
significance of it.
chain. It's
Yeah.
just they're like, oh, it's making weird noises now. Now's the time to sell it or get a different car.
Yes. Yeah. And normally, to be honest, that's. I mean, if they ever put their hand on their heart, I think 90% of people part exchange a car have been told by a mechanic the car is on its way out, haven't they? You know, when
Yeah,
it comes
some
to
it's a
unless
high
you're the
percentage, I
kind of
would
person who
say,
changes every 5 years on nearly new.
or it's just after they've spent some money on it and they're like, I don't want to spend any more money on this car now. I want to get a new one.
Yeah.
It's so yeah, it is a bit of a minefield. It's yeah, it's a tricky one because you could say the same for
I mean,
auction, like everyone does. Everyone says everything at auction's only there because for a reason. But
no, I mean, I know the other dealers around locally because I approached them, main dealers won't sell to traders at all. It has to go through auction, has to
oh
go
yeah,
through auction to stop any backhanders. So there is that stuff. There is that stuff that does go into auctions as well. And we know mobility cars, a lot of them go to auction, don't they? And that's the stuff everybody's fighting over.
but also there's
Um,
genuine people who do just want to part exchange their car because they fancy something newer and flashier, and they've gone to a car supermarket and they get the finance, and it's gone in that way. Doesn't mean
yeah.
it's not. I don't think it's the only time that people change their cars when they're knackered. There might be
No, I
something.
don't think necessarily knackered, but there are a lot of things that people live with their cars, aren't
Oh
they?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So there's like a weird little noise or it knocks or whatever, and yeah, they'll just think, well, I won't do that because it really doesn't really bother me. Like you're saying about
Yeah,
not being like oblivious, I'll get in, well, my car, my that white BMW high mileage thing, that my other half is driving now, and I'll get in, like, bloody hell, it needs like front arms or whatever. It's just knocking away, and she'd be like, oh, does it? And I'm like, yeah, well, can you not hear it going like dong
yeah.
dong 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 as you go over like potholes and such? Oh yeah, and I did notice it was a bit like that. It's like didn't mention it.
I drove my wife's car the other day, and it needed drop links that bad. They clattered everywhere, and she had noticed. So I had the drop links done, got in it, drove it again, and I noticed that as soon as you come on off of the power, you can literally feel the engine. It needs a rear mount at the bottom doing that.
Oh,
None of
like
these.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, she hadn't noticed any of
Oblivious.
this stuff at all. Some people, I guess, if it comes up to you gradually over time, you're not. It's not as obvious, is it?
Yeah.
But no, I mean, yeah. So, I mean, that's the thing. So going back to buying cars from subscribers, it's always really hard with a subscriber to renegotiate a deal on things they've missed. And especially, like, say, if they put you in touch with a family member, and they've probably said the family member, this guy's straight down a dive. He's told you that's how much he'll give you it, and then you turn up and the information is wrong.
It's
it's a
awkward,
tough
isn't
one.
it? And then you feel, yeah, like I say, I'm disappointed because I've got to offer you less. I want to give you full amount of money, but logically I can't, you know.
I went to get one this week, and it was like it's pretty much one owner and a full service history. And you turn up and it's well, it's not been serviced since 2019, and there's nothing in the paperwork.
The amount of people who think it had full service history when they bought it, so therefore they say it's got full service history. But it's like you've owned it for 4 years. Have you serviced it? No, it's probably due a service now. It was due
Yeah,
a service 2 years ago.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. The
Well, I
amount of
haven't done
funny
any
amount of people who
miles.
don't just service their cars, they just that's just it,
Yeah,
it's working, therefore that's it. But,
I had. So, what's your best warranty claim this week,
um,
or attempted warranty claim?
I'm sure we've had a good few, but I can't think off the top of my head. We would have had a few, and I think there was quite a good one, but I can't think.
I've had a battery from 4 or 5 months ago.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
we're
I took it in
doing
to have
the
it.
problem we're doing the things we're doing now, like nicer Mercs and Range Rovers and stuff. Is it's like the little fucking cameras, reversing cameras,
Yes.
cameras that work, but it pings up a fault on the dashboard still. So your
Yeah.
reversing camera will come on, it will say reversing camera fault at the bottom. Well, it's working fine, but and then you've got to try and check, is it a module, is it this and whatever. So we're dealing with a lot of those sorts of crap at the minute.
That's the thing that we were talking about in the last video. I'm worried about when we start to sell when I start to sell the cars that fall into the price bracket I do in a few years' time that have got all these toys on them. Yeah,
Yeah.
this one was they took the car in to get it serviced, which is strange because normally if a car's due within 6 months for a service, I'll do it. So I can only imagine I negotiated that they were going to get a service done themselves. But anyway, they took it in. Apparently, the battery was at 30%.
Right.
Um, and it's kind of like, well, and they tried to claim from warranty wise for the battery and didn't get approved. And it's like, well, the car still starts and drives because obviously you got it to the service. It's like, yeah, but it's at 30%. And it's like, yeah, but the car is 11 years old. So the battery, if it was the original, wouldn't be at 100% any longer, would it? Like buying an electric
No.
car. It's not a fault with the vehicle and it's not really a warranty claim. If you decide you want to change a battery that's at 30%, but still starts your car, runs your car, gets you around, then that's kind of your decision,
One
isn't
of those
it?
things, isn't it? It's trying to align people's, just because the car's new to you doesn't mean all the parts basically should be new. Well, the battery should last longer than 5 months or whatever. It's like, well, a new battery should last longer than 5 months. That's why you get like up to a 4-year warranty these
But
days
the
on
thing is
batteries.
as well,
But it's a used car with used parts.
and the battery hasn't failed. If the battery failed, it'd be a different matter. But the battery, it's not. Oh, you're going to turn your car. It won't start because the car's at the battery's at 30%. It's when they did their full service and they obviously did all their diagnostics on it. The battery came back as only being at 30%. So,
Yeah.
but that's it, isn't it? I made the car roadworthy, safe as described. I didn't restore every nut bolt and on it, did I?
No.
It's just not
Well, like
feasible.
you said probably 100 times in your videos, you couldn't, could you? Can you imagine the prices? You'd have to charge new car prices because you'd have to make it a new car. There's just no way.
Yeah, you'd have to make it a new car, and there is a compromise of buying a used vehicle, and that's that the battery in the used vehicle won't be a new battery. The
Mm,
discs and pads won't be new. The tires won't be new. So I mean,
yeah.
this guy wasn't. This I think he's probably chanced his arm a little bit on it. I mean, he didn't like having to pay. Well, he didn't have to pay, but he didn't like having to pay 80 quid for a battery or whatever it was. But he didn't have to. He made that decision based on the report he got back.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So, and I think he had a claim in them for a electric window switch. I think it
Right.
was for after a few months.
Yeah.
That's a difficult one for me because I know most warranties won't cover an electric window switch. When I asked for an explanation, they said, "Look, at the end of the day, if you've got a car that's 11 years old, 12 years old, that switch could be flicked back and forth, a million times in
Yeah.
that
This
time."
is a topic I want to talk about in another podcast, is warranties and our thoughts on third-party warranties and whatever. So I won't get too much into it now, but you do think like I can see it from the consumer's point of view. I can see that they're saying, "Oh yeah, but that's a wear and tear item." Well, everything on that car is a wear and tear item. Every part
Yeah,
of it is getting used all the time. So if there's going to be certain parts that you're like, tires, I can understand if you burn through tires and whatever, they're like consumables. But door switches, they're not really consumables. You're not
I think the problem
expecting
with that.
them to, you're not expected to have them changed when you do a service or any of those sorts of things. So, yes, everything's wearing out in that car. But if you're going to then say that, sorry, we can't cover that because it's a wear and tear, don't sell me the bloody warranty.
Hmm.
What's the point of it? Because every part of that
Well,
car
that's
is
why
being
that's
used.
why I don't charge for warranties. People say, "Oh yeah, why sell them the warranty if it doesn't cover the item?" So I never sell warranties. If someone wants an extended one, I'll let them have it at the trade price. And my explanation as to why I let them have it at trade price and I don't mark it up is because it's not my product. And if they decline something, I don't want to be responsible for that because it's not my product and I can't make a decision on it. I mean, I think one of the problems in this example, the switches, I think they went away and got one direct from Hyundai, I think, which is you'd put a second-hand switch in because it was a used car at the end of the day.
Yeah.
If you go and hit up Hyundai for a brand new electric window switch, then you're going to be very disappointed with the price point, aren't you? It's
Yeah. I mean,
so
they're
I mean I'll
crazy.
probably end up I probably will. They put the warranty claim through and it was declined. I might end up contributing something towards it. I think I'll have a look at what a used switch would have cost me. But again, if they come to me at the time, I'd have said, "Oh no, 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 don't put the new one in. Put a used one in, and I'll probably cover it or go halves with it or something like that."
Mm.
It's one of, like I say, I have my own policies now for that reason because it cost me probably what 130 quid to put the warranty on in the first place, and then they've
Yeah.
declined two of their claims. I could have paid for the battery and the switch within that 130 quid and had someone very happy, I imagine.
Well, I don't really, I don't use them anymore. I just get them come around trying to sell us them all the time, but just
I do if
we,
someone's
we would
further
do it again.
afield.
We would do them as an extended, but
Yeah,
not as a
I do.
routine.
I do them if they're further afield, and the one reason I do it for is to control over the bill. Because if you have a policy, your own policy, and someone's all the way up country, you've got no real control over what hourly labour rate they're going to get charged and what they get charged for the parts. Whereas if you've got someone at warranty wise on their desk, they'll argue the toss and they'll approve a certain amount for the work to go ahead, won't they?
Yeah. Yeah, they're definitely, it's easier for them to deal with it than for you, for sure, which is why we did the warranty wise ones for a while. But then that I mean, that could still potentially work. We could do that, but I just found that at the time they weren't very good, and in fact, the customers were calling them trying to get it sorted, and they were just being ignored basically. And then they come on to us 2 weeks down the line when they're really, fucked off.
Yes.
And then that's just like you're making us look like mugs. So I couldn't deal with that either. So I haven't found a good solution yet. But yeah, we will. Yeah, we will see. It's always difficult to know. I do what you do basically. We'll do our own for 3 months, and then I will happily sell an up extended one, but I will make profit on it. I won't sell it at trade, but I will still. It's still a case of, this is an addition to ours. So after that period, if they cover it, that's great. If they don't, we don't. It's that's your only option at that point because it's an extended product and you bought it from them.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I've had a lot of stuff they have paid out for. They're not totally worthless. They've paid out for quite a lot of work in the past. I had a Sanyong. They gave £1,000 towards having an automatic gearbox done on it, even though it was a fault at point of sale. The customer was cheeky claiming in the first place. But yeah, no, I find them. I find them pretty good overall. But I have to normally get involved and argue the toss on it. They'll just say no to a consumer because it wasn't written in a certain way, the application didn't come across in a certain way, and then I'll get on the phone. I had one with an EGR on a Golf once. Sorry, Yeti once, and I forget what it was. It was attached to something else, and they were like, "No, we won't cover that part." And I said, "But the two are attached. There's no way of detaching the two. It comes as one unit, so you're being a bit belligerent there, kind of thing. It has to be anyway." So they did approve that one in the end. But yeah, I did. You have to know what to say to them, and you have to. And at the end of the day, I always say to people as well, if you are going to buy an extended one, buy it through me. The reason is because, and this is why it's probably worth buying it from a dealer, and even though they're making profit on it, one, you're still going to get it cheaper than if you buy it online as a consumer. But secondly, they're going to look at our pot and go, "You've got 10 grand in there that you've put into warranties. Should we let this one slide? We will." Whereas if it's an individual who's bought the warranty, they look, "Oh, you gave us 500 quid. It's going to cost us 500 quid to repair it. If we just say no to you, you're not going to renew with us next year, but who gives a monkeys anyway?" Because they do look at that. They look at how much you got in their pot. When it comes to sort of borderline stuff, they'll look at how much you got in your pot and they'll say,
Yeah,
"We don't want
I
to
know
lose that
some of
business."
them will, watch your pot, and at the end of the year, you will get a dividend back if you haven't made X amount of claims. If they've got X amount in there left over or percentage, they'll give you a percentage back. I know there's all these kind of deals they do, but yeah, I just don't have the patience. A lot of people won't believe it because I get a lot of comments, people saying they think I'm like really relaxed and whatever, and I am when it comes to money, cars going wrong, whatever. But if I don't know, if there's certain things like warranties, if they say no, we won't cover that because whatever, and it's a joke, and then I've got to get involved and be like, what do you mean? It's this is that, and we've you've had 30 grand off of us this year. You can't pay for a 50 quid Windows switch. You're really going to do that to me? And I'll just hit the roof. I'm just like, you're done. I'll never deal with you again. And that's just how I go.
I did wonder if you shouldn't offer customers that as well. Like when they ask for a discount, say, "No, I'll tell you what, I'll give you a marginal discount now, or at the end of 6 months, if you've not made any claims, I'll give you a much bigger discount." So so when they have something sort
You
of
know what'll happen
again,
then, though? They'll take the bigger discount off you at the 6 months and then be like, here's this fault that we've got proof of at the whatever, and they just try and
yeah,
screw you because
probably still
people
get
just do
stiffed. I was
that.
just thinking if
People
they're
are
thinking
like
for
that.
little things, like if they're getting right, I'm going to get say 300 quid back at the end of 6 months if I've not made any claims, and that battery's going to cost me 100 quid, or that switch, yeah, I'll just go ahead and get it done myself rather than bother the dealer.
Yeah.
But the trouble with it, I guess, it is thinking that through logically again. The trouble is, like people say, when I get a car cheaply, why not sell it cheaply on again at the other end? It's the ones with the big margin that make up for the ones you've had the warranty claims on, isn't it? I guess so. You can't
That's
really
it.
do
Yeah.
that.
It's a law of averages. It's not, that's the problem is you oversimplify it. Buy a car for 4 grand, sell it for 7, you've made 3 grand. A bit, you haven't. For a start, there's 16.6% on that 3 grand to start off with. Then there's all your prep. We should do a video
Yeah,
where we literally break it down on an example of a car to really show everything that goes into it. Because there's how many days was it in stock? Okay, it was in stock for 30 days, and it cost me £25 per day to have it at the garage on the forecourt advertised. So then it's 750 quid for that.
It's cost me 200 quid for a Auto Trader just to have it on the spots in that period of time.
Yeah,
My
I mean, that
Auto
would be
Trader.
included in your 25 quid, but yeah, so
Okay.
that's 750 quid still. But then that doesn't take into account, well, I suppose it does take into account your labor and whatever, but then your individual parts on top. And then, like I say, you'd have to calculate it over 6 months. You have to do an example of pick one car. And I'm sure with like some of the systems I use now, I could go back through and pick one car from like 6 months ago and be like, oh, it came in for a window thing or whatever, or it came in and all the tires had gone down. Even if they spent an hour pumping tires up and checking everything and checking there was no leaks or whatever, that still cost me. So I'm paying people to do it. Yeah, that margin ends up being that. Everyone sees you making this big margin and think, oh, bloody hell, you're laughing. You must be rolling. And it whittles down to this. That's why you need a lot of them to stack them up to actually have something at the end of the month.
Well, that's it. Even if that car makes 1,500 quid net, EBITDA, as they like to say, even if it makes that, and then another car that you made 500 quid on needs a 500 pound part. Now you've got to split that profit between two cars, and effectively they made you 750 each. And it's not that simple, is it? You're using margin from another car to cover a loss on another car, aren't you? You might have a complete write-off where the car ends up going to scrap for 250 quid
Well, if
when
I
you
get
bought it
stung for
for
this first
150.
response thing, 4 grand plus
4 grand,
whatever,
easy,
you
2 or 3
wipe your
deals, isn't
month
it?
out,
Yeah,
completely wipe your month out. So,
yeah. I think
yeah.
Yeah, I think people get the impression that you're whinging about the trade, and you shouldn't be in it because you're whinging about it. I think it's not a case of not enjoying this trade and not making money out of the trade. It's a case of just this belief that you can come along and chip somebody 300-500 quid on a car, and then expect every single component to be covered in the warranty at the end, and then whinge in 12 months' time when it fails an MOT on something silly that you were sold a duffer because you've got it in your head all along that this person's made such a huge amount of money out of you because they buy part
Yeah.
exchanges for peanuts.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, I'd love to figure out what's at the deep. I think it's just culture, the fact that everyone hates dealers, or not everyone, because I think the vast majority are actually, okay and they're sensible and whatever. But there is that kind of section of like almost like Jeremy Clarkson loving people. They can't possibly entertain the idea of an electric car because they're so like, that's not traditional or whatever. Even though we've got Teslas now, or a Tesla, and it's like incredible. All right, it's not like I still like my, not like internal combustion cars, but I wouldn't be like, oh, I can't possibly even look at it, and oh, I feel sick looking at it. But it's the same with like car dealers. Like, well, you probably ripped off enough people, so blah. The comments that we get, but the ones that are just so
Ridiculous, aren't they?
bitter, and I honestly don't think a lot of them have ever either bought a car or had a bad experience with a dealer. They've just got a chip on their shoulder for some reason.
I do think a lot of them think they've had a bad experience with a dealer, but the reason is because of the unfair expectations. They believe their experience was bad when in fact it wasn't at all. For example, you might have this person saying, "Oh, this dealer didn't do a battery for me 3 months down the road." Dealers are, they make all this money out of cars. Is as dodgy as this, that, and the other. But there has to be a cut-off point, isn't there, where you've bought the vehicle, it was a used vehicle, now you're maintaining that used vehicle. My responsibility at point of you purchasing the car was not to misrepresent the car, not to sell you a car that was faulty and sell you a car that was going to be reliable and fair for the price. It wasn't I was going to continue to maintain that car for you going forwards as a used vehicle. And I think the trouble is, like I say, they go to part exchange a car in, they get a part exchange offer that they think is low because they see how much the cars are selling for retail. I had this comment the other day. So I put in a TikTok, this is why I don't negotiate down on prices on cars as a rule, because because all the online platforms tell you what a car's worth. So you turn up because you think it's a great price in the first place, so you can't then have a big discount off it. And somebody said to me in the comments, well, why is it you negotiating me then against what I want for my part?
Oh, we've frozen. We've got frozen James. Hopefully he'll come back in a second. Oh, you're back. Did
Yeah,
you have to
sorry, my
wind the
internet.
handle on your internet out there?
The hamster needed a poke, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
you were
I was
saying,
saying,
and then we negotiate down on the part exchange.
Yeah, they say, why do you negotiate on our part exchanges? And it's well, it's not the same deal at all, is it? It's not coming in retail ready. You haven't done a scuff on the corner of the bumper. You haven't refurbed the alloy wheel. You haven't serviced the car. You haven't put a new MOT on the car. You're not giving me 6 months consumer rights on it, and you're not giving me a 3 month warranty should any of the components fail. So the void is huge, but they can't get their head around that. That when they come to buy the car off you, because they know that X car maybe was 5 grand part exchange and you're asking 8 grand for it retail or 7 grand for it retail, that isn't all going in your pocket. So then when you do refuse a battery in 3 months' time, it's, oh, you're a scummy dealer and you made loads of money out of it and you can't be bothered to do that. They don't see the other person's car where you've had to, put a timing chain in it at a cost of 1,200 quid by the time you've done everything. They don't see that going on in the
Yeah.
background.
I got
And
another.
all the fact that what they saw as a 2K margin, your car actually whittled down to £600 profit or £700 profit.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm doing a video actually on a part exchange car, and it's funny because it's got all of his like religious symbols and everything on the back, and he's a man of the cloth and all that sort of stuff. But he's come and bought this thing, and he keeps coming back in for these tiny little issues, and in wanting like he thought it was an Evoque, I think, and he wanted a mud flap. But his car had an oil warning light on, which we knew about, or someone knew about. I didn't. We got into it, like his radio doesn't turn on, the screen. Well, apparently it did turn on at one point. When we were driving it back to do the deal, he was a bit, like, oh, the screen's not coming. He's like, oh yeah, it does that sometimes, but it's normally okay. It's like, right. So then we had to buy because it's a Jeep, we had to buy one from America for like 250 quid. They had this oil warning light thing. When the mechanics actually got into the bonnet, like there's loads of sensors everywhere unplugged. So that it would run, you plug it in and it would cut the car out. So we had to get new sensors and whatever. And you think we give £1,000 for it, which seems like not a lot for this Jeep Cherokee thingy. But, this guy knew everything about all these things. And,
But the trouble is, you say something like that and you get these comments going, nice to see a dealer stiff for once.
Yeah,
and it's like, what on earth are you talking about? I cannot return that vehicle to that customer. I cannot get them to do those fixes for me.
Yeah.
I haven't got the right to reject the vehicle and I haven't got a right to repair. When you buy a car from me, within 30 days, you can reject the car if there's a fault. I don't even get the opportunity to fix it. And anywhere within 6 months, I'll be potentially responsible for fixing it. So how are the two anywhere aligned whatsoever? Even if I were lying to you about a vehicle, you've got all the opportunities to come back under the sun. I have zero opportunity to come back.
Yeah.
And then you
I
get
had exactly
like,
the same. Exactly the same when I did a video when I was like, oh, we're buying this M5 in part exchange, so I'm going to plug it in with the top on because I just want to make sure there's no codes in there because it's a big, complicated, expensive car. And someone's like, oh, yeah, bloody hell, do you let them plug your cars in then? And I was like, well, no, not really. If they come with like a cheap diagnostic thing to plug into my car, no, because we've got better diagnostics that cost us thousands. We'll quite happily print you off a report of our car. Or if you come with a mechanic who's qualified and has poor workmanship insurance like we do, so if something goes wrong from that and everyone's like, oh, well, you can't do anything from plugging in via an OBD, it's like, have you never heard of remapping? Like you can do all sorts. If it's just seen like the Carleys and the OBDs of the world, you can change all sorts. I don't even want someone to change the door chimes on my car without me knowing, just because they want to find out that they can do it. And like you say, the difference is like we're insured and we're qualified to do all this sort of stuff. And you might not be. You just feel entitled because you're going to buy a car. You want to buy a car from us potentially, but probably not. And when you buy that car, you will have those 6 months consumer rights. So if something is there that you weren't happy about, or we'd turned off codes, if we were that unscrupulous, we'd turn codes off so that you wouldn't know about it. Well, you've got 6 months to figure it out, haven't you? And check immediately after you bought it. And I've got no option, especially in that first 30 days. I've got no choice but to give you your money back.
There's no comparison. The reason you don't get to check codes is because you've got anywhere up to 6 months to bring a code back onto me. Whereas I literally, the moment I've given the cash over, I've got no comeback whatsoever. So that's
the other thing is, you want my car. And that's why I'm looking at yours. You've brought your car to me. So if I'm going to buy it, I'm going to check it out. I'm not getting in my, whatever it was, the Mercedes that you were buying, and I'm coming to your house and being like, go on, do you want this? And I'll have your garden shed in part exchange. I haven't brought it. You've brought it to me. So I'm going to check it out. And there's a reason you brought it to me.
And then you get the next one going, well, none of that matters anyway, because you're going to send it out the door with the faults on it anyway, aren't you?
Yeah.
And you're like, what? You're just going to wash it and you're going to
I'm just going to open myself up to 6 months of absolute agony and headaches and whatever by selling a car that we've hidden faults on because that would be great fun for me. Like, of course I'm not going to
and
do that.
it's
I'm going to
like,
do absolutely everything to avoid that. If I buy a car like that Jeep, for example, and it turns out it's got a load of stuff that clearly they knew about and things were unplugged to make it run, and probably they've been to another garage and they were like, well, if you leave it unplugged, it will run, but it will just have a warning light, and I'd go and part exchange it, and they've done that, then I don't know, I've completely lost my train of thought.
we'll find me the customer will come along and buy a car with an engine warning light on the dashboard and
Well,
a
exactly.
non-working stereo in the first place. They're not going to, are
Exactly.
they? So it has to be fixed before it can be retailed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it just feels very unfair. The sort of, I mean, I think I understand the rep for car dealers pre 2015 Consumer Rights Act, because from what I hear, they could get away with blue murder. But the reality is there is far more in favour of the consumer than there is in favour of the dealer. You only have to look at your finance examples where people are getting their money back 8, 9, 10, 12 months after. I mean, I heard one 2 years after. So it's just not the same playing field at all anymore. So let's do away with these stupid stereotypes and
Yeah.
start actually just sort of, looking at the real hard facts at the
There's
moment,
always
which
going to
is,
be people out there selling bangers and death traps that, shouldn't be on the road, but they're usually going to be at the cheaper end, or, all the warning signs will be there. It will be a big, expensive car, but it's a lot cheaper and the paint looks a bit rough and you didn't realize it was written off and it crabbed down the road or whatever. There's always going to be people who are willing to rip people off, but that happens with, houses, with
builders,
anything else.
plumbers.
People will bodge stuff
Yeah.
up. Yeah, they'll bodge a job, take money off you, and then leave and never give you that. That happens with everything. It's not exclusive to car dealers, but if you look at car dealers these days, there actually seem to be like a really conscientious, like sensible and reasonable group of
No,
people in
I always think
business.
this is funny as well because car dealers have such a bad rep, and it's almost like they think that every car dealer that starts a YouTube channel is just an honest car dealer. When the reality are, the
Yeah,
vast majority of them are honest. The reason that they come across honest is because when they start, these people, you think about Cubic Cars, you think about Lovely Car Company, you think about you think about me, you think about Car UK. Go onto any of them, and you'll see them doing masses of warranty work, taking cars back month to month. That isn't just that all the honest car dealers want to do a YouTube channel. That's just because overall, most people want to run a business that they can be proud of, that they can send good cars out of, that they can get repeat business from. At the end of the day, your business only has a resale value if it's got good customer service and a good reputation. They're not going out of their way to try. Anybody who went out of their way to sell bad cars and just turn away warranty claims is going to be in business for a few months. People say to me all the time about how dodgy car dealers are. I'm going, well, go into any town and you'll see a car dealership that's gone through 3 generations. It's
yeah,
it's granddad still great granddad still wandering around somewhere fiddling about, and and that's because if car dealers were that bad, they wouldn't exist. Why do we need to exist? Because private sellers can be a bit sketchy, and
oh
someone wants
yeah,
them come back.
yeah,
Someone
yeah.
wants a car
And they
properly
haven't got a
prepped, and they
track
wants to come
record. You
back.
can't look into them. You can't see
No,
their past reviews or whatever. And I think I've always said, and I think the main reason why car dealers well, not necessarily car dealers get a bad review, but the whole thing with like thinking car dealers are going to rip you off for your part exchange, or the fact that they've offered you a part exchange valuation that's fair, but it isn't retail valuation that they think they could get for it, is because people are so emotionally attached to their car, unlike they are with many other things, like their sofa or whatever. It's like part of them. They've lived with it for X amount of years. For men, it's their pride and joy, and they think it's worth X amount. And then someone comes along and says, well, look, go and buy just the trade guidelines. It's not. And I don't know, people feel like idiots if they've lost money on their car, or
yeah. I heard
I think
someone
it's
get
just it's
really
a
offended
personal
the other
thing.
day. Someone got really offended, not my dealership, but someone got really offended in a deal the other day because the salesperson had the gall to talk about how filthy their car was at the end of the day. I mean, which again, I don't think is particularly wise on their part, on the car salesperson's part. But it is a personal thing, isn't it? If you tell someone their car's a pile of crap, and there's all these faults with it, they view you as being just
Take it
trying to knock them
personally.
down.
Yeah,
They do
yeah.
take it. They do take it. But I do think the law's got a lot to answer for. I think if there was some clarification on warranties and I say it's just so the Consumer Rights Act, although it's good, is just so vague about
Yeah,
what
it's
you
so
actually are able to claim
generic,
about.
and yeah,
You have these
just
other countries that say, look, if a car is over 10 years old and 100,000 miles, you can't expect to have a load of stuff covered on it. So we don't. So the law doesn't apply to vehicles of that age.
mm,
And then you have right, okay, if it's this age, and you say right, the consumer has a choice to either buy a vehicle as is or with a warranty. They give that allowance in America, can't you? You can say in America you can buy a vehicle as is, or you can buy it with a warranty. And I just think that, yeah, I don't think a car dealer will ever be able to push for any change in law because it'll be viewed that they're just trying to help themselves. But I think it would help the consumer a lot because the interpretations of the Consumer Act are so wide, and people don't realise it applies differently to a £4 grand car that is 11 years old to a 4-year-old car with 20,000 miles on that costs 30k. There's no real clarification in there for them.
Yeah. Yeah, and things. But when it gets to court, that will come into effect. Commensurate with age and mileage and price, all that sort of stuff.
You don't want to get that far, do you?
No, obviously not. But they might be thinking just because the Consumer Rights Act says up to 6 months if something goes wrong with it, and et cetera, et cetera. Like you say, they bought a 1,200 quid car that's 20 years old and something's broken on it, and they think it's the dealer's fault. But when it gets to court, it won't be, because you have to be realistic with the age and mileage of the vehicle, that all that stuff isn't new. So you can't expect one person who owned it in a long line of 20 people to be the one person that's responsible for it.
No. I mean, that said, I have seen posts on likes of Facebook and so forth where someone's gone on there and torn somebody a strip off publicly, named them for a £500, £600 car from a dealer, and actually there's a lot of sensible people go in the comments and go, what was your expectation? If it got you this far, you've done all right. So there are some people that have got their heads screwed on, but there just seems to be a lot of people that just don't understand cars, to be fair to them as well, do they? Don't understand a lot about cars.
It's a bit of a dark art and whatever, so yeah, I don't know. But anyway, I better let you get to it. Get to Pete.
Yeah, I've got someone working with that. I need to make sure Pete's earning his money.
Yeah, I know how it stresses you out when someone else is there.
I mean, whatever his missus pays me to keep him occupied for the day, it doesn't always actually end up in a profit.
At least you might get another cup of tea out of it, at least.
Yeah, I might do.
Anyway, right, I'll leave it there. We will catch up next week when, talking of Cubic Cars, hopefully Rob of Cubic Cars, Rob Cubitt himself, will be on.
Yeah.
So we can pick his brains about selling fancy stuff and whatever. And apparently, you mentioned last time that his unit must have cost about 40 grand or whatever, but he's going to tell us that's not true. And it was very.
He's got a pool table that must have costed £2 grand on its own.
He's got about 20 grand's worth of tropical fish in there.
He's got a stock bar, hasn't he? And he's got all his cars on. I
saw one of them. He's got just like a living room in there, so with a nice sofa and a big TV on the wall and whatever.
He must hate going to work every day, sitting behind his desk. Sitting on his leather sofa with his bar, a beer in hand,
fully stocked bar,
looking at a Ferrari, a Lotus on a lift, going, "Oh, how did I get to this stage in life?
What a drag!
What went wrong?
Another day in hell."
He'll watch this and he'll give us grief for that.
Yeah,
but
no,
he's a good chap. I knew him for a short time, but he seems a good chap. He started a YouTube channel as well, hasn't he?
I tried to look for it, so that I could pinch some of the footage when I did that other little
edited the logbook video. I think it's called. I think it's called the logbook. Maybe we'll find it and put a link.
Okay,
it's called the logbook. Yeah. He had a good story when I watched one of his the other day, and it was because he's only just starting out, so he hasn't got there. But he had a classic one where he transported a car all the way up to Scotland after negotiating on for ages on an SLK or something like that. I mean, he has the same problems we have with small cars, even though he's doing fancy stuff. And so I think it was a full-blown AMG. It might have been a 55 or a 65 or something like that, full-blown AMG, and delivered all the way to Scotland and end up having to pick it up and bring it all the way back because the wife's wheelchair wouldn't fit in the boot.
Yeah.
You can't believe it, can you? You can't believe it. Anyhow, I'll hopefully you'll find a link and you can link through to that video on there.
But yeah, we'll get that chucked in, and then hopefully he'll be on. I did say to him next week. He said he was. I'd have to let him know. So yeah, we'll find out.
And find the darkest, dirtiest, little dankest corner in that unit, so he doesn't live up to what we've been saying.
I get the feeling that won't be the case. I think he'll be sat at a very nice desk.
I think he'll be on his Chesterfield with a gin in hand.
Yeah. There'll be someone stood there wafting
him with a palm
bay leaf or whatever. I don't know, whatever they use. Yeah.